Hello, my name is Phil Herman, Superintendent of Hudson City Schools, and I want to thank you for tuning into this week's Monday message. For a guy who is an eternal optimist, I will admit my heart has been breaking many times over the recent months. Much of that has been around COVID-19 and about missed opportunities for our students, but over the past weekend and today, it's really about racism. Our nation has been shaken by the senseless death of George Floyd in Minneapolis. This tragic event is yet another example, another reminder that too many African Americans live in fear simply because of the color of their skin. I invite each of you to join me in thinking about what we can do personally to help end racism. I found that a good place to begin is to stop and listen to people of color, to our neighbors, our friends, our co-workers, and our students. Only then can we begin to comprehend their lived experiences and the many ways, day in and day out, that they have been impacted by racism in our nation, in our state, in Northeast Ohio, in our community, in our schools. But please understand, it is not their job to fix it or answer the question, so what do you want us to do about it? It is the responsibility of all of us to confront racism while building action plans to acknowledge bias and to prevent racism. Each of us has a role to play in our community, our workplace, and our family to bring equity and safety to people of color. And until then, my heart should be breaking. As I shared with you last week, the point of Summer Monday messages is really to provide regular updates about the guidelines that we're hearing over the summer and updates over summer activities and plans on returning to school. And to point you to communications from us where we may be asking for your feedback as we prepare to make decisions moving forward. So we will continue to offer that in Monday messages. I'll continue to provide that in Monday messages, and I'll try to make them a little bit shorter because it is summer and there's less activity going on for students and in the classrooms. If there's anything that I've learned over the past 10 or 11 weeks is that guidance regarding COVID-19 for schools is going to change. It's going to change often. Previously, we were under an order that all school facilities and all school activities were closed through June 30th. And recently, we learned that some activities may resume with restrictions, began really opening up as early as May 26th. And so whenever we receive this information, we receive these change in directives, we receive the directives and then we look for additional guidance, which usually comes in the form of a written order or from the Ohio Department of Health or the Ohio Department of Education or Summit County Public Health. And then we analyze that guidance, we put safety procedures into place. We have our plans in terms of how we're going to handle that specifically in Hudson City Schools approved by Summit County Public Health. Then we communicate and then we move forward cautiously with the ability to adjust. And so that has happened recently in regard to some summer activities. And so certain activities are going to be permitted to begin this week. So later this week, sports-specific individual team training is permitted to begin in accordance with the OHSAA summer training guidelines at outdoor facilities. And so we will begin some of those sessions in groups of 10 or less. And we will also be able to open up the public use of tennis courts and Ada Cooper Miller Natatorium for swim club use, again in groups of 10 or less, as well as Memorial Field and track will be open for public use in groups of 10 or less. Then beginning on June 15th, scheduled use of baseball and softball fields, again with the state guidance for baseball and softball, will be able to begin used on district fields. On-site HCER day camps will begin, so check out that registration online. On-site Motorcycle Ohio certification will begin on campus, and then HCER adult softball may also begin. After 1st of July, beginning on July 6th, the on-site HCER programs, again with restrictions for babysitting and driver's ed, will begin starting in July. And it begs the question again, so what does next year look like? What does next school year look like? So not only did I learn that the guidance is going to change and change often, but I've also learned that "I don't know" is the most common phrase that comes out of my mouth these days, and that is unsettling as a leader. But we will approach this coming school year just like we're approaching this summer, in terms of we are receiving directives, we're analyzing guidance, we're putting safety procedures into place, we're having plans approved by Summit County, we'll communicate and we'll move forward cautiously. But it's important to remember, in terms of receiving the guidance, that it was 11 weeks ago that the school closure very first began, and it is 12 weeks until the first day of school. And so we don't know exactly what next school year is going to look like or what restrictions will be in place. That doesn't mean that we're not preparing now. We are preparing. We're exploring educational models. We're exploring, even though we don't know what those restrictions are going to be for schools, we do know the importance of flexibility. And so we're preparing for improved models of remote learning, should those be needed. We're also preparing for in-person learning, more of the traditional model in school, and some combinations thereof if necessary. So we're making sure that our clinics are established and have the correct personal protective equipment for staff as well as students. We're making sure that our cleaning procedures for during the day, our cleaning and sanitizing procedures for during the day and in the evenings are established. We're making sure that our building entrance protocols are being established for each building, should our students be able to return to school. And we are establishing the protocols for a student or staff member if they present with symptoms or become sick during the day. And so we will keep you updated on all those developments, and particularly our work around the educational models over the summer. I hope all of you are off to a great summer start with you and your children. And again, thank you for tuning in to this week's Monday Message, and have a great week.